Okay. So a lot of people have been saying, cover the Andrew Callaghan allegations, I found out about them like briefly yesterday, but I didn't look that deeply into it because for me specifically, it was my day off, so I have no idea what the fuck was going on. I have looked into it since then a little bit and gotten additional details from Ethan as well. And from what I understand, there was one person who came out and originally said, and I don't know where to go for this right now. Andrew Callaghan of Channel 5 is who I'm talking about. There was the H production subreddit. Okay. So there was one person who came out and originally made statements about Andrew, stating that I think he like pressured her to have sex with him. The first ever allegation was, hold on, let me see if I can find it, and I'm going to issue a trigger warning here. I never actually saw the first accusation. Like, I don't know what the first one was, but I only saw that. I saw a compilation of like people saying, "Oh, he's a bad guy, and here is why." And it was like this compilation that I saw that I thought was a little ridiculous because there were parts of it where it was literally like Andrew Callaghan, I heard from a friend of a friend, was like hooking up with young women with family members. 99% are underage. However, there was some serious ones in between. Okay. At first, I thought maybe it's like a Aziz Ansari style situation. But one of the people that actually came out, I believe it was Moldy Freckle, who said Andrew sexually assaulted me as well. I'd previously been involved with him, but only when I was extremely drunk. This one was the only one out of like all of the random things that were compiled that made it that seemed very severe. Okay. I'm from Seattle. Know many people common with him. You are not the first person. I've heard about the story happening too. Went to a neighboring high school as him. Same thing. He was in high school. Not the first time I'm hearing something about like this. Okay, so some of this stuff is just like, it's a complete hearsay, right? But this one was the solid one. This one was previously dating, I believe, Andrew. And this video in and of itself is like a very serious one. There were two videos from her. The first was allegations. The second contained text messages and other anonymous allegations that responded to her post with. Yeah. Obviously, don't dismiss any victims. Don't dismiss anyone coming out with their stories. Unless, of course, their stories are literally like fucking, I have a friend who is like a friend with Andrew's cameraman, and he told me Andrew's a bad guy. Like that stuff is ridiculous, obviously. Even if it corresponds to like the real evidence that you have in front of you, that's something that you always have to, pay special consideration to. Okay? I always say false allegations are rare, super rare, and it is infinitely more likely that someone that comes out with allegations, that is unnoticed, that goes unnoticed or vilified, than not. So this is the person that first came out. This video came out. From what I understand, she was upset. Here, I'll watch this.
Never in a million years thought that I would be making this video, and I'm shaking because I've tried a couple different times and haven't been able to get my point across, but I don't like seeing abusers get platforms. And my abuser, Andrew Callaghan, also known as All Gas No Breaks, Channel 5, and whatever his new HBO show's called, I forget, has been plastered all over my news feed, and I've tried to come to him person to person and try to get him to take accountability for what he did, but his version of what happened the night that he assaulted me is so skewed. So I will tell you that he did eventually get consent. And that's the main point, is that he eventually got consent because he wore me down. He told me he needed a place to stay for the night. He had some sort of falling out with one of his crew members or whatever, and I was very clear about the fact that we are not hooking up. He gets in my bed and wears me down to the point where I eventually do agree to do things that I wasn't proud of. And I wasn't proud of them and thought it was my fault for so long that I continued to be nice to him after the situation. He wouldn't leave my house the next morning. And then as time went on and I processed things, I thought, you know what, just because eventually I said, okay, whatever, because I was trying to just get the whole night over with so that it could be morning so that he could leave. It doesn't discount the fact that I told him no. I told him no so many times prior to this. I said, I'm tired. I'm not really feeling it. I came up with any excuse that I possibly could to just get him off of me.
So both Andrew and her, from what I understand, were extremely drunk when this happened. And that's why it's like this one originally, I don't know any of the I don't know the exact details of what happened here.
And
but this is like one of the first times that I'm hearing about it, other than the fact that I only looked at Reddit pretty much. Like I didn't even see this video itself. And that's still not consent ultimately. Not, you know, it's still coercive in nature if there's like pressure involved. Loki thinks it's a right-wing ploy because he's exposing the fuck. No, I don't think there is. I don't think this is a right-wing ploy. It's infinitely more common. I think it's a lot more common for this sort of thing to happen. That like, I think it's infinitely more common for something like this to happen than have people like build a conspiracy theory. Come on, guys, it is very common. Even during the Me Too shit, like we talked about this, it is, of course, it's incredibly common. It is, and I say this all the time, whether it's someone I know, someone I don't know, this is a consistent thing that I mention all the time. This happens as a consequence of, one, the ways that everyone is taught on how gender dynamics are supposed to work, even though it is literally wrong, okay? It's a product of the patriarchy. It is social conditioning. And then also on top of that, you pile on the gray nature of interpersonal communication and dynamics, especially in a situation like in a non-platonic romantic situation. All of a sudden, it's basically a fucking powder keg. So whenever I see stuff like this, like I try to be as understanding as possible. But you know, this is not uncommon. I think that what Andrew was doing, I didn't see this one, but I did see the other one, was pestering. Like it seems like in this circumstance is a person that he was involved with originally. Like they dated, I believe, and the long and short of it basically is that she was offering him a ride, and he was like trying to hook up with her, trying to kiss her in the neck, trying to hook up with her, and even like went so far as to like pull her hand down his pants, things like that. And you know, I mean, here I'll let her explain it.
I told him I would take him home because he lived close by, but that I did not want to have sex in my car at all. I did not want to have sex with him again, ever. And after we got to my car, he started advancing towards me, started touching my inner thigh, and pulled me forward and started kissing my neck. So I really couldn't move out of the position. He was holding me like tightly. And he proceeded to put his hand down my pants. I told him to stop. I told him to get off of me multiple times. He tried to put my hand down his pants, and I was, you know, fighting against him during this, told him to please stop. And he said, you could.
There's no gray area here, man. No, I know. There isn't. There is not. I'm saying that in normal circumstances, something that otherwise, depending on who the two individuals are, would be a consensual touch can immediately be unconsensual. This is one of those circumstances where it clearly is not. It is clear cut. Okay? The point is across the board. And this is something, like I said, time and time again, something that I've talked about when describing the nature of consent. When describing the nature of consent and you know, these sorts of dynamics a million times over, I have mentioned this. A lot of chatters are trying to get a clip out of you, fucking weirdos. Yeah, I assume that the goal here for many people is to try to get me to say something that you can clip and then ship, and you know, say that I am, you know, I'm just say that I'm a fucking hypocrite or something. But like, you're betraying the conversation that we're trying to have here. Okay. Andrew, as far as I understand, has not said anything about this. And I await for any kind of statement that comes from him. But ultimately, I mean, this seems pretty bad. It's like, it looks like an obvious instance. Like, look, dude, please, I want you to stop. Like, I know that there's a lot of people in here that are just like incredibly fucking ill in the brain, but just for a second, dial it back while we're having this conversation. You're not the victim here. Those women are. Arrest Andrew yourself. Coerce him into a meeting and, you know, come on, dude. No, there's a lot of people who have been trying to bait so that they can like try to see if there's like any inconsistency. Okay.
Could at least suck my dick. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. Get out of my car. At that point, it was, I'm not taking you home anymore. Get the fuck out of my car. And he just got mad, really. He was mad that I would even say that, but at the same time,
No, I think that there is a case to be made for this being like this one especially being assault, and at the very least harassment for sure. It is, I mean, the biggest bummer here is not that like I'm friends with Andrew or I know Andrew, and that you know, this that like someone that you like has done things. No, the biggest bummer here is the fact that like these people have been traumatized by these actions. Okay? Like that is the, you know, keep your eyes on the prize, I guess, and be a little bit more understanding.
Was laughing at me and continued to try to kiss me and was like, are you serious? Come on. Yeah, it was not fun. So I told him to get out of my car again. He wouldn't get out. And he said, you could at least take me home. So I realized at this point, I would not be.
I think a lot of people like this usually speak up because they fear that when someone comes out, they usually fear that like this is repeat behavior. And that's the reason why they come out and speak out on things like this. Okay. So they want to prevent this from happening again. It's not like, I know that the immediate alternative is like, oh, this is a person who was scorned and that's why they're fucking coming out. And even if like one person, even if the original accusation is like that, the other people that are coming out in that situation are offering repeat, offering repetitive patterns, like pestering, legitimately, like regularly pestering. And in some instances that could lead to a coerced instance of consent. And even if I were to put myself I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but even if you were to put yourself in the shoes of the perpetrator, okay, and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, what the fuck? Like, don't do that." He himself, after a sequence of repetitive actions, and this goes for a lot of people, okay, this goes for a lot of dudes. When you engage in this action and it is otherwise rewarded or there's no sort of pushback, you assume that this is the norm, okay? This isn't to take away the responsibility from Andrew in this circumstance. It's not. It certainly isn't. But it is for a lot of people to hopefully understand why these things keep happening all the time, especially because I think that like the systemic aspect of this conversation always gets lost in the sauce in the way that we look at everything. That's why people say like men are trash, okay? That's where this comes from, because a lot of guys oftentimes in this circumstance don't understand what they're doing is like completely inappropriate, or there might be a point where they understood that what they were doing was completely inappropriate and have lost touch with that side because this is so heavily normalized and reinforced in society. That is also part of the reason why I always talk about, whenever I cover these sorts of things, whether it be someone I know or someone I don't know, when people go, "Oh, it seems like there's a lot of people who are doing this sort of thing in this avenue, in Twitch or whatever," right? What you also always need to take into consideration is that this is not just happening on Twitch, or this is not just happening in this circle. It's happening it's happening in every circle, in every facet of existence. And I think that the way to solve it is by, again, having empathy across the board, and of course having an honest conversation about these sorts of things, which unfortunately rarely ever happens, because ultimately the people that speak out against these sorts of instances are traumatized individuals who, of course, are going to be on the edge, be defensive. It's understandable. It's a survival mechanism. It's the same as like when I talk about transphobia. Yes, I completely understand why trans people would be more defensive when having a conversation like this that would otherwise even come across as like to the untrained person who's just like hearing from the outside, like, "Oh, why are you being so hysterical?" Well, yeah, it's because they feel as though their lives are on the line, and in many instances, that's a legitimate reason. Same with this as well. Okay. Same with this circumstance as well. I'll wait for what Andrew's side of it is, but it does seem like this is pretty commonplace behavior. As far as like the things I saw, it's usually like known people. These are people that he knew, people that he might have even had a consensual relationship with at some point. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say other than that. So yeah.
Be able to physically push him out of my car. So I started driving quickly and erratically down the road. I pulled into a busier street and I stopped abruptly, thinking, like maybe someone will realize something is wrong, or if someone is honking at me, like he'll feel uncomfortable and want to leave the car. But I guess it did make him uncomfortable that I did that, and I told him to get the fuck out of my car. And he was like, "Can I at least get a kiss goodbye?" And I said, "Fuck no, get the fuck out." He left. Never spoke to him or saw him again.
So very weird how many people on hospital thought you wouldn't address this when you've been very consistent about discussing serious, uncomfortable topics and not treating sexual assault like drama. Comment is on W. I mean, it doesn't matter. Those people are fucking delusional. There are community members in here that also treat it like drama and only care about it from the point of like dramatics. So I think like I think ultimately I think ultimately I don't know what the path to redemption looks like, but you guys know my assessment on every instance. I've very openly talked about it with respect to like, you know, people who have been convicted of crimes and have, you know, served their punishment. Obviously, no such thing has happened to Andrew in any meaningful capacity. But I always believe that people can get better, people can redeem themselves. But I think like I don't know. I need to hear what Andrew has to say before anything else on whether or not that is adequate or can happen. Bummer, but how do you feel having just platformed him? Obviously, you didn't know. I have no responsibility for platforming him. What was your headspace when you saw this? I mean, I also know him. Like I've hung out with him, not like in non-professional settings, but you know, I don't feel great about it. But I guess what you got to do is just admit fault and seek help and hope that like eventually you can help others heal, like your the people that you've traumatized heal. Anyway, this is not about me, so shut the fuck up and ask me about don't ask me questions about like how I feel about the situation. That's weird. Anyway, so as far as that goes, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Kind of wild that you're expected to know everything about and dissect every single instance of every sexual impropriety that happens. Yeah. I just got here. Is there physical evidence of what's accused thus far? All I know is that these two women accusing him. No, there's more than that. There's like, there's like a lot of this shit where it's like, oh, I've heard a lot of weird stuff, which I don't really place a lot of emphasis on, and I don't personally care. But hard accusations made by individuals who are victimized themselves, like that's pretty serious. That is something that I take into consideration. As far as like this receipt video, this was the only thing I saw which literally made me feel um this is the first thing I saw about this entire process, and I thought like that's kind of odd because it was peppered in with like crazy shit like what is it? It had a lot of like weird nonsense in it. You know what I mean? And that made me go like, what the fuck? This is odd. Like, who gives a shit about this? Like, also, he thinks the clitoris is inside the vagina. It's actually embarrassing for him. And it's like, what the fuck? There was another one that was like, oh, he's hooked up with like young girls who are staying with their parents. A friend of a friend told me. And it's like, okay, what? Anyway, that sort of shit was like, you know, that like that is like ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I feel like it literally like dilutes from the actual story. And it's odd because like the person that put these things together, I guess like if I'm being as charitable as possible, I assume that she was trying to warn other people. I don't know. You know what I mean? But also like why would you add that sort of stuff in there? It was like weird. I think if you watched everything from the first accuser, you would find her credible in describing a coercive dynamic, even though she did hyper focus on irrelevant details. Yeah. But you know, there's more people that have come forward since then, so. Ultimately though, I think people need to be like incredibly careful with the way that they conduct themselves around people that they're interested in. And it's already like a scary space regardless, and it's always been scary. It's scary for the other party, it's scary for everyone involved. But yeah. His failure to address it so far is pretty damning. I think he's probably, I mean, Andrew's not exactly like the most like he goes in and out of phases. I don't know if he's like has a lot of mental care for himself. He's not very online. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, this is can you emphasize that physical evidence doesn't usually present in these types of cases? People don't get how firsthand accounts count as evidence. How could you have physical evidence for something like this at that point? It's like something that happened a long time ago. Like, is that the takeaway though for guys to learn from this? Consent no means no. Yes, I think yes. Considering that men are oftentimes the perpetrators of like a big chunk of these instances, yeah, it's definitely up to men and positive male role models to educate people and men to understand that, understand consent and not engage in like coercive actions such as this. And like there are going to be instances even when you don't recognize that you're being like pestering or annoying and you still are, you know what I mean? Like it can happen. I know that people will say, no, that's not the case. That will never happen. No, you're just working off of your own personal experiences and have no fucking idea how you came across to other people. You have no idea how you came across to the person that you got your Starbucks coffee from today. You know what I mean? That's precisely the reason why most of us are nervous wrecks around other human beings, right? Now add a sexual component to that, and you will understand that it is like literally profoundly difficult to navigate this space. Okay. So yeah, it's as a man, I understand that part of the equation is difficult. Straight up. Like I'll say it. I know that women in the chat that heard me speak about everything else that I just spoke about and then turn around and say this are probably going to say, well, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. What do you mean? How dare you say it's so difficult? It's like no means no. No, it's not as simple as that for a lot of instances, for a lot of people. Like they don't understand it. They don't know. So many people don't fucking know how to act. They just don't. Especially when you're young, you're horny, you don't have any fucking clue how to navigate this space, and all of the goddamn male role models that you are learning from are fucking, you know, people like Andrew Tate. You think there's a redemption to this? There's a redemption to all situations. That is an unchanging value that I have. That's not going to change in this instance. I believe in that for everyone. I believe in that for random people I've never met before. I believe in that for fucking violent criminals, and I believe in that for people who I despise as well. So, that mentality of mine has not changed and will not change. I don't know, Hassan, this just kind of makes me sad to hear you not do what you said Kai should have. Disappointed in your reaction to this as a long-term sub. Please go ahead and explain to me how I fucked this up. Please. Go ahead and explain how I didn't do an adequate job talking about systemic reasons as to why this sort of thing happens, how likely this sort of thing is, and talk about how the trauma of the victim in this circumstance is what is the utmost important thing. Also, I have personally zero involvement in the matter at hand, and I'm just covering it as an outside person. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Say something fucking insanely outrageous, and that's going to, like, piss me off. So you can get a clip out of it. Anyway, you don't have to mock every single person. I mean, we'll see what they have to say. I don't see you as an outside person here, and I feel like you're saying it's complicated. It's true in scenarios where you're not directly addressing the situation, but in this case, I just think you think I'm an insider person in this circumstance? What is your implication here? What is your assessment of the situation? Do you think I was in fucking wherever the fuck they were at, St. Pete's or whatever? Is that what you think? Was I there? How am I an insider in this circumstance? Is it your fantasy to have me be involved in this circumstance? So you're just like, maybe, what the fuck are you talking about? Also, I directly addressed it. That's crazy. Not an insider, but certainly not an outsider as being his friend. What do you want me to say? Should I bring him over here and kill him for you? Like, what do you want? I genuinely don't understand. I'm not trying to watch every day, and I'm a fan. I met you in like New York City. I'm just saying this genuinely. But like, what do you? I addressed the situation. I was on the side of the victim. I even talked about like systemic reasons as to why men behave this way. There is literally, I don't know. I don't know what you think I should have done in this circumstance. What the fuck? No, like everybody stop yelling at the chatter, but like I don't know. Well, it's not about me. It's not about me. Also, so I don't know why you're like asking me to be involved in a situation where it's not about me. Maybe I heard it through trauma ears. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, it's okay. You don't have to apologize for it. But but I'm not like in any way, shape, or form involved in any of this. And when I got information, I talked about it. So I don't know what you guys want from me other than that. Anyway. And I didn't say the situation was complicated. Yeah, I said it as a generalization about the male-female sexual dynamic. So every circumstance is complicated. There are instances where a touch could be considered consensual between two parties that are offering consent to one another without actually like asking for it. You know what I mean? You don't ask your girlfriend, "May I kiss you, please?" every time you kiss them, right? Like, and then there are still situations where you can commit even spousal rape. You know what I mean? So obviously, that is what I'm talking about with respect to how complicated this circumstance is in general, which is precisely why this kind of thing happens so frequently and so regularly. None of which, of course, make this situation a good one, okay? Or the actions justifiable. I have not heard of any weird instances regarding Andrew before this. No. No. But to be fair, I have not hung out with him all that much in a non-professional setting, but I had not.